Good evening. Tonight we're going to start with lesson 6 in our fraction unit. I can decompose fractions using area models to show equivalence. So we're still going to continue what we've been learning these past several days and with our equivalent fractions. In our first problem this evening, each rectangle represents 1. Draw horizontal lines to decompose each rectangle into the fractional units as indicated. Use the model to give the shaded area as a sum and as a product of unit fractions. Use parentheses to show the relationship between the number sentences. The first one has been partially done for you. All right, guys, this looks so confusing, doesn't it? A lot of stuff happening here, but it's just a lot of stuff. That's all that is. And you'll see how it's all being broken down, how we're decomposing and going back to composing back to those equivalent fractions. So let's look. We first started off with 2/5, and you can see it because it's right here. This is our 2/5. We shaded in 2, and it's broken up into 5 pieces. But it wants us to make a denominator of tenths. We want to change this and make it into tenths. And how we did that is by creating this line to separate it. And now we have 2 rows, which now gives us a denominator of 10, so now it's broken up into tenths. We originally had 2 tenths right here, but because we split it up and we made another row, we now have gotten 4 tenths. So now I'm going to put a 4 here. So now we have gotten 4 tenths. So basically over here, it's asking us what over fifths plus fifths equals that rest of those things. So we have 1/5 plus 1/5 equals 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10. Okay, so guys, what this is saying here is one of these 1/5 is equal to this 1/10 plus 1/10. Because if you look over here, this is 1/10, this is 1/10, and these are all unit fractions, and 1/10. So this right here is equal to one of these. And then we have another 1/5, which is equal to these two right here, to give us 2 tenths. So if we take this group right here, 1/10 plus 1/10, plus another 1/10 plus 1/10, would give us 4, and then we would have 4 tenths. All right, another way to do it is we've got 1/5 here, which represents this section right here. We have another 1/5 right here, which gives us this one right here. So 1/10 plus 1/10, and then when we go back to our multiplication, 2 groups, we have 2 1/10ths, so we put this 1/10 here, and we have another one, 2 times 1/10, because we have 2 groups of 1/10, and that gives us 4 tenths. So 2/5 is equal to 4 times 1/10, which gives us 4 tenths. So we're showing that 2/5 is equivalent to 4 tenths. All right, in our next example, they want to make this area model into 15ths. Well, first we have to figure out what it's broken into first. What's the first fraction that we're going to be dealing with? And we look like we have an area model here that's broken up into fifths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out of that 5, 4 is shaded in. So we have started with 4/5. And we're going to try to make an equivalent fraction that has the 15. It's broken up into 15. Well, how many rows would we need to add to create 15, and we would have to make 3 rows because 5 times 3 is 15. So I am going to make, remember, not 3 lines, 3 rows. So I've got 3 rows here, which gives us each unit 1/15. All these represent 1/15. Okay, so each one of those is a unit fraction of 1/15. How many 1/15 do we have? Well, we took a look at this whole section right here. We have 12/15. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to decompose this. So we first started off with 4/5, and 4/5 is equal to 1/5 plus 1/5. These are the unit fractions, plus 1/5. All right, but each one of those 1/5 is equal to 3/15. So now if we continue doing this, we would have this one group right here would be 1/15 plus 1/15 plus 1/15. And then we have another group right here, and that represents 1/15 plus 1/15 plus 1/15, and that's one group there. And then we have another group which is right here, and that's equal to 1/15 plus 1/15 plus 1/15. Getting crazy, right? And then we have one last group which is right here, and that's 1/15 plus 1/15 plus 1/15. So that's telling us how many groups do we have of 1/15. We've got 12 of 1/15, which is really equal to 12/15. So we are showing that 4/5 is equivalent to 12/15. We decomposed and we composed back together. And we showed it using an area model that 4/5 and 12/15 are equivalent fractions. All right, in our next one, we're going to draw an area model to show the decompositions represented by the number sentences below. Express each as a sum and a product of unit fractions. Use parentheses to show the relationship between the number sentences. All right, so we have 2/3 is equal to 4/6. So I have my area model here, and I'm going to first show 2/3. And I'm going to break this up into thirds, and I'm going to color in 2 to represent 2/3. But then now it's asking us to show that it is equivalent to 4/6. So I'm going to make 2 rows, and I only need to put 1 line to make 2 rows. Now I am showing that this is broken up into 6, and 4 is colored in to show 4/6. So we first started off with 2/3, and then we ended with 4/6. So each one of these unit fractions is 1/6. Okay, so now let's decompose. We got 2/3, and 2/3 is equal to 1/3 plus 1/3. That shows 2/3. But each one of these thirds is going to now be broken down into 1/6. So this 1/3 is going to represent 1/6 plus 1/6 plus this 1/3 is going to equal 1/6 plus 1/6. And all of this, if we wanted to multiply this and show the groups, we have 4 groups of 1/6 is equal to 4/6. So here again, we decomposed and composed and showed that we have 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6. All right, our next problem, it says draw an area model for a fraction with units of thirds, fourths, or fifths. And I'm going to try out tonight. I'm going to try the fifths, okay? And I'm going to do one for 3/5. And I'm going to try to find an equivalent fraction. And let's make an area model here. And I'm breaking this up into fifths. And we're going to show, color in 3, because it's 3/5. And I'm going to make 4 rows. And I can now figure out what equivalent fraction is to 3/5. And now if you look over here, this is broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It's broken up into 20ths. So 3/5 is equal to the denominator of 20, and there are 12 colored in. So 3/5 is equal to 12/20ths. And in each one of these, this is a unit of 20. Each one of these is equal to 1/20th. So if I continue following step 2, we shaded in one or more of the fractional unit, and then we were able to find the equivalent fraction. And now we're going to try to make up those number sentences. And we're going to do that by showing decomposition of 3/5. Now 3/5 is equal to 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. Now just like we've been doing, we now want to take this 1/5 and say how many 20ths is equal to 1/5. And if you look over here, this whole section is 1/5. Remember, 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 is 3/5. So this is 1/20th, 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 1/20th. So 1/5 is equal to 4/20ths. So 1/5 is equal to 4/20ths plus this 1/5, which is right here, 1/20th plus 1/20th plus 1/20th and 1/20th. So that one is equal to 4/20ths plus another one over here is a unit fraction of 1/20th. And we get the same thing, 4/20ths in this last one. Now we're getting to our multiplication sentence. And how many groups of 1/20th do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we've got 12 groups of 1/20ths is equal to 12/20ths. So 3/5 and 12/20ths are equivalent fractions. All right, guys, you give it a try. You've only got 3 choices in life. Give up, give in, or give it all you've got. Draw an area model to show the decompositions represented by the number sentence below. Express each sum and product of unit fractions. Use parentheses to show the relationship between the number sentences. So 4/5 is equal to 8/10. These are equivalent fractions. You've got to draw an area model, show the decomposition, and then putting it back in and using those parentheses, and then making, composing it and creating a multiplication sentence, just like we've been doing tonight. And then you're going to decide which one of the number sentences is correct that represents 4/5 is equals to 8/10. Please bring in your work tomorrow. And your last one here is an area model that shows a certain fraction. So I want to know what this fraction is first. Put it up here. And then you need to break this model up into eighths and then show us what the equivalent fraction is down here once you break it up into eighths. And then compose it back with multiplication, but use those parentheses to model each one of those fourths that breaks it down to eighths. And I want to see your work tomorrow. But remember, I just want you to choose which one of the number sentences are correct. Wonderful night tonight, guys. Good work. Remember this quote: in life, you are either a passenger or a pilot. It's your choice. Let's be all leaders, guys, not followers. Have a wonderful night.